I build cheap bikes for a living. It's sort of my whole thing. I buy all the parts separately from places like AliExpress and put them together. It's how I keep the costs low, so I feel like I know really good value. That's where this thing comes in. It's a complete bike from a legit bike shop. Comes with a full warranty. You can even get it on a cycle to work scheme. But the pricing is so aggressive that I would really struggle to match it buying similar parts direct from China and building it myself. The value is nuts, but after spending some time riding it and pulling it apart, I think I figured out exactly where they spent the money and potentially where they didn't. So yeah, this should be good. My name, as always, is Luke, and welcome back to Trace Velo. So here it is, the Sunpeed Invincible Sport. Fully carbon frame, fork and seat post with integrated carbon handlebars and a 2x12 speed Shimano 105 group set. And the price, just under 1,400 quid, although I can get you an extra discount on that, which I'll cover later. Let me put that price into perspective for you. Canyon, historically, they've been pretty disruptive with the pricing on their bikes. The closest they can get is the Endurace CF5. It's more expensive at 1,650 quid, weighs a bit more, and comes with Shimano cues, which is okay, but it's a 10-speed, much more entry-level group set, and the colours are quite boring as well, if you ask me. Well, the strawberry frosting one is pretty cool, but this Sunpeed has a lovely metallic marble effect paint job. Yeah, in the sun, it really pops. Moving over to Ribble, the closest they can offer is the all-road carbon Tiagra. It's more expensive, quite a lot more actually, at 1,800 quid, and again, it's heavier than the Sunpeed. And I'll show you the weight for the Sunpeed in a sec. Plus, this one comes with a lower tier group set as well, Shimano Tiagra. Legitimately, the price of this thing is extremely competitive. It was kind of the whole strategy for V-Ride, the UK distributor of this brand, Sunpeed. They looked at the market and basically made sure they beat all of them on price. Now, I'll cover the equivalent cost that I could build something similar for myself for later on, because yeah, that's really interesting. But for now, let's get it on the road and see if low cost means they've had to compromise. Okay, so first off, this bike is it's a little bit small for me, so it's an XL, which I would kind of equate to a European medium, maybe a size 56, something like that. But it's on loan from the UK distributor. This was the biggest size they had at the time. Plus, it's not that bad. I still managed to get some decent miles under my belt. So, what's it actually like to ride? Well, let's start with the negatives first. Despite being lighter than the two competitors I mentioned earlier, it's still a little heavy. Now, I'm lucky enough to ride some pretty lightweight machines. I mean, my daily that I built up clocks in at 7.3 kilos, fully built, which is pretty decent. This one clocks in at 8.9 kilos. A lot of that is down to the wheels. So they ride pretty nicely, but they're not exactly premium. They use a pretty deep aluminium rim with 24 quite chunky steel spokes, front and back. So they're not really the lightest, and they can feel a little harsh on rougher roads. Plus, they're quite narrow as well. The external diameter is only 21 millimeters. And it comes with Maxxis detonator tires in 28C, which, while a decent option at this price, again, not exactly the lightest. So basically, sprinting off the line, kind of accelerating on this bike, can feel a little sluggish. Plus, while we're covering tires, the maximum clearance on this frame is 32C, which is fine for a kind of a road machine, but not an all-road bike, as the name of this thing online would suggest. I'd expect a minimum of 35C clearance on an all-road bike. But yeah, for a kind of endurance-style frame like this one, 32C is plenty in my opinion. Those things aside, it is genuinely nice. I half expected it to feel a little bit cheap, but it really doesn't. There were no creaks or groans anywhere. Everything feels solid. I think a lot of that is actually down to the integrated carbon cockpit. So sometimes cheaper integrated bars can feel a bit vague or flexy, especially when you're kind of sprinting in the drops. Not here. These things are properly stiff. It gives the front end of the bike a nice confidence-inspiring feel, nice and solid. I was throwing this thing into some corners, and yeah, it feels tight. And that carries through to the frame as well. It's kind of racy, actually. It's got quite a chunky down tube and bottom bracket area, which assists with that front end feeling agile and snappy in the sprints. But the seat stays at the back are dropped down quite far. And with the flex in the seat post, the rear triangle has some decent compliance, so it's quite comfortable sat back in the saddle on rougher tarmac. And finally, the group set. I mean, yeah, it's great. It was fine, straight out of the box as well. No indexing needed. I didn't need to fiddle with it. It was ready to ride. This generation of 105 as well is just superb. There's no other word for it really. The shifts are quick and crisp. It's incredibly quiet as well. And the shifting at the front between the chain rings is so light. It kind of feels effortless. Just, yeah, absolutely mwah, chef's kiss. All in all, this thing just feels really well put together straight out of the box. So with that in mind, let's pull this thing apart and really assess the build quality from the inside out. Right, you'll have to forgive me if I look a little bit flustered. It's like 36 degrees C today and I've got no aircon in here, but yeah, I'll try my best. Anyway, so this bike here, it rides really well and shifting is basically perfect, but I want to look inside it. I'll pull out the seat post, have a look inside the seat tube, check out the carbon layup inside the frame there, and I'll try and do the same with the front. So I'll pull the headset apart. I think if I loosen off this brake caliper, it means I can probably take the fork out, because I'd also like to have a look with my endoscope in the down tube and the top tube if possible. And I'll also take the crankset off as well, because I want to have a look inside the frame in the bottom bracket area, because that's often a really good indication of kind of how well the frame is constructed. Right, so as you can see there, I've taken the wheel set off, I've got the crankset off as well, and yeah, this crankset here, so it's from this brand called Cenex, that I'm relatively familiar with actually. So it's a budget crankset, no doubt about that, but it's yeah, pretty well made actually, so I'll show you that in a second. And I also took the opportunity to get my bottom bracket removal kit out, and I took the bottom bracket out. So in this case, it's a PressFit BB86 standard bottom bracket, and I found something quite interesting inside. So for starters, the bottom bracket area on the frame here, it's not completely faced, so they've removed the paint here along the bottom, but there is still a tiny bit of paint on the top there, but it does seem pretty square, and it's definitely not egregious. But inside, there's some sound deadening foam over the top of the cables in there, and honestly at this price I didn't really expect to see that, and I didn't expect to see it done so well either. But yeah, I honestly wasn't expecting to see sound deadening foam over both sets of cables in here. So it looks like they've got one over the top of the rear brake hose and also the gear cable for the rear derailleur as well. But yeah, that's really, really good to see. And while we're in here, the internal finish inside the bottom bracket area is pretty tidy as well. There are a few little wrinkles in the carbon from where the air bladder was inflated when the carbon was cured, but it's nothing too bad at all. And again, for this price, it is pretty clean, so I'm happy with that. Right, just pulling the headset apart so I can get access to the head tube and just check the overall build quality of things. And yeah, it's all pretty tidy, has to be said. So you've got 4 cables there, so 2 brake lines and 2 gear cables, because this, after all, is a mechanical shifting 105 12-speed group set. So yeah, all looks pretty tidy so far. And it looks like you can split these aero headset spaces here, so I should be able to pull this fork down. I've pulled it all apart as much as I could, and you can see these are the headset spaces here. They kind of come apart, which is useful. So should be easy enough to get all back together. But unfortunately, I can't pull the fork completely out. It was a bit ambitious to think I could. I nearly can, but I don't want to have to undo the brake hose on here, because I don't want to have to replumb everything and kind of re-bleed the front brakes. So I'm not going to bother. But I can get a good look inside the head tube area here. It's all nice and clean, and it looks as if all 3 cables running through the down tube, so both gear cables and the brake line to the rear brake, have sound deadening foam over the top. Also, looking at the carbon for the fork, it does seem pretty well made, and they've done a decent job masking stuff off for paint as well, because there's no kind of overspray up the kind of steerer tube here. Also, they faced the brake mounts, which is good to see on a kind of frame at this price point. On a lot of cheaper frames, you'll often see loads of paint overspray around the kind of mounting points, which makes keeping the brake caliper square to the frame quite difficult. But here they've taken an extra step and kept those faces clean, which again, great to see. Right, so having a look inside the bottom bracket area, and yeah, this is looking up into the seat tube as well. So there are a few wrinkles. It's not absolutely perfect. I'm not sure an EPS form was used in this region, but overall still pretty tidy for something at this price. Looking into the down tube, the walls are very clean, nice and smooth, and these are the riv nuts for the bottle cages. Nicely crimped, no loose carbon. Yeah, all good. I also got a look inside the chainstays. Yeah, very smooth in here. So overall, not the cleanest ever, but at this price, absolutely no complaints from me. So this is the crankset, and bear in mind that these pedals are mine, so they don't come with the bike. But yeah, this crankset is from Cenex, a brand I'm actually quite familiar with. So from my understanding, they're a sister company to Sensor that make group sets. Cenex is their kind of accessories brand, in this case, a crankset. I've actually used a couple of Cenex cranksets in the past, and they're quite heavy, but they are absolutely bulletproof. It's just over 900 grams for this thing, so it's definitely not the lightest, and it's also not Shimano 105. It's the only part of the group set that isn't, but yeah, it's one of the ways they keep the cost down. And at least from what I've experienced, the shifting performance is decent. I'd put it on par with a Shimano 105 crankset actually, but yeah, the weight is heavier. Okay, getting it all kind of fitted back together. I've got the headset back in place, front brake is on. I've got my endoscope footage, so I'm putting pressing the bottom bracket back in place. But yeah, overall impressions, as my friend Chris would say, it's pretty flipping decent. Yeah, it's pretty decent. It's all well and good kind of looking at a bike externally, but when you pull it apart and get a real sense for how it's built, you can get an idea of the quality. And yeah, for the price point, colour me impressed. There is, however, one slight oddity with the construction on this frame, and it's in the seat tube. So I'll just grab the seat post here, and I'll show you on the endoscope footage as I'm putting this in. But basically, there's a ridge kind of in the carbon inside the seat tube in here, and it looks like it's just the way it's been molded. It seems to me like this uses a kind of a hybrid latex EPS kind of molding setup, and that just happens to be where a kind of mandrel for the mold ended. That's my guess anyway, but let me show you the outcome. So basically, you put the seat post in, and it stops dead right there. So it's hit that little ridge inside the seat tube, and it won't go any further. Now that is quite far down, and if you're running this bike and you need the seat seat post lower, you could potentially lop a little bit off the bottom of the seat post. It's not a big deal to kind of chop a bit of carbon off the bottom. But yeah, it is a little bit odd, and I don't see that on a lot of frames, it has to be said. So look, to get a bike like this at this price, some compromises had to be made, and the two biggest ones are the crankset and the wheels. There's nothing, wrong with them. The crankset shifts well and feels solid, and the wheels ride pretty well, but they both just carry a bit of extra weight. There's also that weird ridge in the seat tube, but like I said, I really don't class that as a problem. And the bar tape, it looks neat, but I think it's wrapped in the wrong direction, so it might peel up after a little while. But still, accounting for those things, everything else is spot on, and in fact, I'd go as far as to say this is the perfect starter road bike. Normally at this sort of price, one of the big compromises manufacturers will make is on the group set, and we saw that with the other two competitors I showed earlier. And that's a bit of a problem because it's the kind of the heart of the bike, and with a lower tier group set, I feel like it really makes future upgrades much less worthwhile. With 105 12-speed, you have an excellent foundation, so ride it as is, and if you catch the bug, you can then make the upgrades that will really make a difference. So a light carbon wheel set, different tires, maybe a lighter crankset and saddle. Do that and you've got the makings of a seriously quick road bike without having to kind of tear things down, replacing the frame, the group set, or even the handlebars. I mean, here it is with some deep section carbon wheels I've thrown on, and yeah, looks really, really nice, right? Plus, I keep harking on about it, but that 1,400 quid price tag, it is truly excellent. Piecing it together myself, I actually don't think I could beat it. This carbon frame set, direct from China, it's actually the same one I ride nearly every day. It's fantastic value, and yes, it's a really good frame. Now, it doesn't have the dropped seat stays like this one, but it's a very similar spec in many ways. It's got clearance for up to 32C tires, has some nice paint jobs, and comes with an integrated carbon bar included. With shipping, $950 or 715 quid. The same 105 group set goes right now for 495 quid, and that's apparently on discount as well. That already comes to 1,210 quid. So with the remaining 190 pounds, I'd need to get the following, and presumably I'd get them all from AliExpress. Wheel set, tires, inner tubes, bottom bracket, bar tape, saddle, disc rotors, and the sound deadening foam as well. For one, you can't get all that for 190 quid. And even if you could, you still have to build the thing yourself. You've got no warranty, no recourse if anything goes wrong. Legitimately, getting this bike for that price from a bike shop is crazy. Plus, I can actually get you a discount on that as well. So it's a 5% discount, which makes this bike 1,330 quid, which is wild. And yeah, I'll put those details in the description for you. As mentioned earlier, the London-based distributor V-Ride for these guys, they hit the market last year. That's the whole point. They're really trying to undercut the competition. And from what I can see, they have absolutely succeeded. Yeah, just nuts. Anyway, I'm gonna pack this thing back up in the box and get it back to them. Yeah, let me know if you've got any questions or comments. And yeah, see you next time. Ciao, ciao.
It's the bonus clip time.
Right, really quick sort of notice at the end here. I'm having my wife's we're having another baby in another, well, it's in like 2 weeks actually, which is crazy. So this is just a bit of a kind of notice to say that the video schedule might be a little bit iffy over the next couple of months because we'll be in the trenches with, well, we've got a toddler already and now a newborn too. So yeah, do bear with me, and I've got to give props to my wife. She's such a trooper. It's like a heat wave in the UK at the minute. She's done so well, but yeah, she's gonna pop in the next week or two. So yeah, do bear with me. Other than that, I've been making some really interesting little upgrades to my daily driver bike here, kind of with a focus on dropping a little bit of weight, actually. I mean, it was a pretty lightweight bike anyway. It was what, 7.3, 7.4 kilos, but I've managed to drop, well, hopefully by the end, I've still got one mod to make, about 200-300 grams off it. So hopefully it's gonna be really close to 7 kilos. And I've also been testing out some decent tires actually. So these are really interesting ones, because I mentioned I was gonna try and find some sort of Chinese equivalents in a way to GP5000s, because those are just so expensive. And these ones do seem pretty promising, and they're cheap as well. And they're super light, which is cool. But yeah, loads on. But like I said, do bear with, because we will have a newborn very soon, which is so exciting. But yeah, obviously I'm not gonna have loads of kind of free time to just sink into videos. So yeah, do bear with. Anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, see you next time.